into this edition of the SAU Softball Coaches Show. I'm Daniel Gallegos, joined alongside my head softball coach, Jason Anderson. And Coach, we're here today to preview the upcoming 2017 SAU softball season. It's going to be a season that is met with high expectations and anticipation. All those are pretty much based off of last year. A lot of it really a tremendous season for you and your club. Your second year here, you win 53 games, a school record, host a regional, win that, win the super regional, advance to the World Series, and finish fourth in the country. Talk about just kind of last year as we look back maybe one last time and reminisce before this season.
Well, when you have a year like that, you can look back as many times as you want because it was a great year. Those are few and far between. You know, you have to have a lot of things go your way. But we had a great group. We were talented top to bottom. Not only that, we had great team leadership, chemistry, and that was the goal from day one. We wanted to make it to Denver. We knew from the start of the season that that's where the World Series was going to be held that year, and that was our goal. And we started off strong, stayed pretty level throughout the season. A couple bumps on the road, which is expected in a long season that you play, and then we really got hot there at the end of the year for NCAA postseason and went through the regional, super regionals, and made it there to the World Series. So those girls, I was real happy for the seniors. I know we're going to talk about that. The seniors, we did have some seniors on that team, but I was happy to send them out that way. Several of them had put in 4 good years here at SAU even before I got here, and so it was a really good way to send them out. And then, of course, set the program expectation that year in, year out, we want to compete on a national level. Are we going to, finish fourth in the nation every year? I don't know anybody that does that, but I can tell you that the expectation is that we're going to be competing for conference championships, regional championships, and making it to the World Series. I mean, that's what we want to do every year, and I think that team set that expectation, not only for me, showing that we can do it here at Southern Arkansas University, and that's the plan from here on out.
Last year's success may have come as a surprise to some, but really when you look at it, that was a team, as you mentioned a little bit, a lot of senior leadership on that team, a lot of 4-year players, 4-year starters, a lot of experience there, and a couple of pretty key additions were made last year that kind of made the difference, because even if you look back to your first year, right at 500, obviously making the big jump last year. And so, conversely on that, when you have that many seniors, you're going to lose that many seniors the following year. And on paper, that's what it looks like. It's not going to be the same team as it was last year. You look at it, and up to about 6 spots in the batting order are not here that were here last year. But you're not too concerned about that, are you? I mean, because you're able to go out and kind of not necessarily replace, but fill those holes and get going for the next year.
Exactly, and if you look at the final game we played there in Denver last year, we have 4 returning starters. Of those 4 starters, they're key. They were key. You have Brooke Gold, All-American, Maddie Dow, who's been a fixture in the middle of this lineup for 3 years now. Double-digit home runs, RBIs, active career leader in home runs in all Division II. Kaylee Garner, who was awesome for us in the circle last year. And then Tyler Casada, which is a very important piece to bring back your starting catcher for the kind of pitching success that we had last year. It has a lot to do with her calling pitches and being on the same page with them. So we brought back the right pieces. Now, like you said, we lost some girls, and they were a tremendous asset to this program. You can look back on what we talked about early on going into the season last year. I told you, because we were so senior-heavy, I didn't feel like there was any kind of adversity that we could go through that we couldn't handle. I mean, we had been through it, and so that's a big deal. So while we have a lot of new faces, our talent is unbelievable. We are, in my opinion, more talented than we were last year, top to bottom as a group. We did bring in 4 transfers, juniors and senior transfers that are JUCO and Division I transfers that will help us immediately, we feel, that are going to add some of that leadership, returning the leaders that we talked about, and then we added some very talented freshmen that I think are going to be huge for us. So not obviously taking anything away from the seniors that we had last year, but their time is done, and we have to move forward, and we're poised to do it. Those, like I said before, that group set us the expectation that we can compete at a national level. And so it's my job as a coach and my coaching staff, it's our job to make sure we're bringing in the right kids, the talented kids that can continue to keep us and maintain that kind of success.
A lot of those expectations you're talking about are internal expectations that you have for your program amongst your coaching staff and your players, but this year there's the external expectations. Picked preseason favorites in the Great American Conference, and also recently picked number 5 in the preseason coaches poll for NFCA in Division II. So a top 5 national program, picked to win the conference. Obviously preseason stuff, if you look at last year and what transpired, it didn't matter. But talk about it from the perspective of you are being touted in that way. How are you translating that message to your team to keep them to be successful?
Well, I mean, when you have a season like last year, you would think the expectations from the preseason polls and things would be high. I mean, like I said, defending conference tournament champions, you're kind of, most of those polls are done on how you did last year, right? They don't, a lot of coaches who vote on it look into, well, they lost how many or whatever. And like I said before, I think in this situation, our talent is there. I think we are poised to handle this expectation. And how we communicate the team is, as we tell them, it's really hard to get to the top of the mountain. It's hard climbing. That team last year climbed to the top, and it's hard to get there, but it's even harder to stay there. We're going to get everybody's best shot week in, week out, and that's what they got to understand. I would not have it any other way. I'm happy with where we're picked. I think the expectation is high, and it does nothing but solidify what we've been telling them since day one. Last year's over, but we're going to continue to perform at a very high level here at Southern Arkansas. So the girls are ready for it. We're talented. We've got great leaders, great returners. We've got a great group, and they can handle the expectation. Now, we got a lot of new faces, so there's going to be some things early on that we're probably going to have to battle through just because we don't know each other as well and haven't played with each other. We've got a few fall games, which I thought we did very well in, probably the best fall that I've had in a long time from a playing standpoint and the way the talent and the team look. But I think we're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way that we're going to have to overcome, but this team's ready for it and they can handle it.
Gone through the fall, getting those new faces in with the returners, and now you're into the spring part of the schedule, obviously getting ready to compete. Through the first couple of weeks of the preseason with an eye towards the season, where is the team at knowing that your opening weekend is less than a week away?
Already. I mean, it's like a horse race, they're in the gate and all of them ready to go, and we open it up and there they go. I mean, that's where they're at right now. We're in the gate and we're shuffling around in there. I'm just ready to turn them loose. So we've been building up for this moment all year since day one. We knew we were going to be hosting another tournament. We had great success here last year, opening up at home. We like playing at home, so obviously we're blessed with our facility and another chance to do that again. I've got some really good teams coming here, but they're ready to go. I mean, obviously you've been practicing, you've been putting in the work, starting in the fall, starting now since we've been back January 10th. We've been practicing, lifting, running, doing things, and getting prepared for the season. So they're ready to go. These, like I said, the little preseason rankings and things are just kind of icing on the cake, just showing where we are and the expectations of our program from us and kind of on a national level, but they're ready to get going.
And if you look at the schedule, really you don't play at home very often until about the middle of March, but you're able to. You talked about, the new facility, Dawson Field Mule Rider Softball Complex. You can open that up again with two fields going at the same time. Last year it was great, a great chance to get in some regional competition and come in and kind of put yourself up against some of the better teams in the region right off the bat. Talk about that, and then knowing that you're going to have that little bit of a layoff until you come back home where you enjoyed a lot of success last year.
Yeah, and we like playing at home, and so getting to open up at home is huge. While we have an extra weekend this year because it's not a festival year from a World Series or National Championship purpose in Division II, whereas last year we had 2 weekends before conference started. Well, this year we have 3. So we're going to be able to spread out our games. We get 12 pretty much non-conference games before we go into conference play. And so we're going to play 4 games here at home. We're bringing in Texas A&M Commerce and Tarleton out of the Lone Star, Newman University out of Heartland, and then bringing in Washburn out of the MIAA. So those are all region games for us. The Lone Star is a very competitive conference. We expect them to be good as well as the other 2. So we feel like we're getting some good competition and getting to play that at home. And then we go on the road to Grand Prairie, and we're going to get a good dose of the Lone Star that weekend in Texas Women's, UT Permian Basin, I believe, Kingsville, and then we're also going to play Lubbock Christian, the host of the tournament, which 2 of those were NCAA regional teams last year. And then we go up to UAM's tournament. Albie does a really good job putting that together, has the last several years, and we get some really good MIAA teams that we can play against, which are true in-region games. So we're going to get tested early. To answer your question, we love the complex. We do like to work at home, and I feel like we do well at home. The support's great, but we are going to get a lot of really good competition here the first 3 weekends, and then we start on the road the first 2 weekends of conference. It's kind of how it shakes out. Next year we'll be able to start at home the first 2 weekends of conference. So I think the good thing about that, the positive about it is because we are starting on the road the first 2 weekends, we get to end at home right before the conference tournament. So we get Southeastern and Arkansas Tech the last 2 weekends right before we go to Bentonville for the conference tournament. So it is a tough early schedule, a lot of road time, a lot of windshield time. We're going to have to adjust to that with a lot of new faces. But like I said before, we're ready for it and we're ready to get going.
We appreciate it very much for your time. Again, head softball coach Jason Anderson. He and his Lady Mule Riders are set to kick off the 2017 season. First weekend in February, it'll be at home at Dawson Field Mule Riders Softball Complex. 3 days full of softball. Both fields will be in action. SAU will be playing 4 games during that weekend. Be sure to check MuleRiderAthletics.com for all your pre- and post-game coverage, not only for that weekend, but throughout the season as well. Coach, again, we appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thank you.